Well, that time of the year again when we take a look back at what it is that South Africans were searching for. And Google South Africa has released its top searches for 2020 and no prizes for guessing the most consistent word that people look up. Yeah? Nah, you guessed correctly. It is coronavirus. But of course, there's much more because of the lockdown. And South Africans have been searching for varied recipes. Remember when you all thought you were, South Africa's top chef and you were, taking pictures and bragging about your skills, your abilities. It seems like a dream right now. But yeah, people were doing all of that. And not to mention how to brew beer. Yeah. All of those things that we did in the early lockdown stages. And very interesting. I wonder if you can actually figure out the most Googled politician in South Africa in 2020. Whilst you think about that, let me welcome Mich Atagana, who's Google South Africa's head of communications and public affairs. Good morning and welcome once more, Mich. It's been a minute. It's so good to see you again.
No, good to see you. Well, I can't actually see you guys, but I know you're there. So it's so lovely to be back on the show. I miss coming into the studio, and sitting with you guys and chatting, but at least we can still talk.
This is true, and I'm loving the purple hair. It's making me all nostalgic. Like everything is so grim, you might as well do purple hair,
Absolutely. I call it my holiday hair. Even though I'm going to be at home, I'm going to have a holiday hair at home.
Now, fabulous. Now, just getting into, the searches, and of course, we do this at the end of every year. And as I mentioned, coronavirus was, of course, the most searched for item. But it seems people were already searching for information about it from January, Mich.
So the top trending searches for this year, absolutely taking into account the calendar, the period of 2020 from the beginning to, last week when we pulled this data. And I think we already started hearing kind of these rumors of this virus at the beginning of the year. I remember when I was in London in January, there were some cases and people were talking about, what was happening in Asia. And I remember traveling and already there was a little bit of, issues around, is it airborne? Is it not airborne? Can you be on a plane? So all these questions we already had at the very beginning of the year until the virus really, started to spread widely. So I think we were already trying to figure out, okay, what is it? What is happening? Because then we didn't really have any information because it wasn't affecting our shores at the time.
But what exactly is it that people were searching for about the virus?
Yeah, I think in different cases. So if I go into, the specific query, for instance, for coronavirus and what the different subsequent queries are for that, it's similar things you'll find in other places around the world that people are also searching for this. And it's things like, okay, what is coronavirus? So what is this virus and what does it mean? And they're looking for information about coronavirus specifically in Africa, South Africa, updates around coronavirus. So these very specifically local things as to, okay, needing to know what the numbers are, what is happening in our country. So definitely some more local introspection around the virus.
And then, surprisingly, I would suppose, it seems South Africans wanted to go to Mauritius, to Durban or Thailand, as these were the top searches. Am I correct?
So yeah, these are the top travel searches. And I mean, Durban is on there. South Africans also want to go to Durban. I think, for a lot of us who often will find ourselves out of the country at least once in the year. This was a difficult time with borders closed and not being able to travel. I think when the borders opened, people started to dream, or even trips they were thinking about before the borders were closed. So definitely a need to escape was something that South Africans were interested in. I mean, Mars is on that list. People also want to go to Mars, interestingly enough.
Shoot for the stars, as they say, and you'll see where you land. But Mich, were people Googling about when to travel or when would travel open? Or was it about waiting for special or discounts on these destinations to come out?
So what we found is mostly destinations were being looked for earlier in the year when the travel ban was lifted, we did see some spikes in that week of people just asking, where to go, and also looking for information about more domestic travel as well. We saw a lot of people looking for trips to go to the Cape and KZN and places like that.
And then just a reminder, because it seems such, a faraway, daisy memory at the moment, but there was a time when alcohol was not available and social media was ablaze with people making pineapple beer, amongst others. This, of course, what did they call it in El Dorado Park? Paulina. They were making Paulina, and apparently it was some lethal concoction. So alcohol was prohibited from being sold at level 5 of the lockdown, and that pineapple beer recipe, I understand, did very well. So what were some of the most searched for beer recipes, and also in terms of food, because people thought they were top chefs?
Absolutely. So in the recipe search, pineapple beer recipe does make it onto that list. I mean, I'd never heard of such a thing as pineapple beer, so it was interesting to kind of see that pop up. And people were asking questions about where to buy beer during lockdown as well. But I think pineapple beer was the only beer recipe on the recipe list. Everything else was food related. So you remember there was also a time where you couldn't get takeaways. So people were looking for pizza recipes. So they wanted to make their own pizzas at home. They were looking for banana bread recipes and pancake recipes. I think we all competitively baked banana bread this period. So the recipes, what I found quite interesting this year is usually the recipe is full of desserts, mostly desserts. We've seen it in the last couple of years. But this is one of the first years where we've just seen multitude of things. There's still desserts, of course, but there are different things on the list. People want to know how to make their own magrinya at home. People want to learn how to make donuts. So all these things that you usually are getting either from a takeaway or you're going to your parents' house for them to make for you, people are learning to make it on their own.
And then, of course, celebrities as well. They don't go away. They were still around, and people wanted to know what they were up to. So which celebrity searches actually dominated, Mich?
Yeah, so from the South African personalities search, we have Katlego Mabwe, we've got Nikita Murray, Edwin Sodi, Lerato Kanyago, Menzi Ngubane, and it's, quite a number of people on this list. And one of the things I always find is it's really all driven a lot by what's happening in the news. So what is happening in the news, or also some of it is what's happening on social media. And at our event last week, we were so fortunate to have Lerato do a video for us and just talking about some of our experiences this year and some of the reasons she thinks people were searching for her and wanted to learn more about her. But South Africans are a very curious bunch, and they're curious about their celebrities.
And now you've piqued my curiosity. Why was Lerato... didn't she get married and then divorced?
I think she got proposed to or engaged on her birthday.
Oh, okay. Pardon me.
I think that was it. But she's such a vivacious and fabulous character. I think people are just interested to know more about her. I just love her light and energy that she brings into a conversation.
Yeah, and we are generally voyeuristic as human beings. So, yeah, we love, peeking into other people's lives. But, Mich, also just tell us about some of the top trending questions that people were looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, some of this also relate to the times. So the very top question is how to apply for unemployment grant. And, we have to kind of look at that with the top trend in search itself, which is coronavirus. A lot of people have lost their jobs and their livelihoods in this period. And it's not surprising to see that as number one this year. We also were interested in what was happening outside of our shores. We wanted to know who won the elections, and the American elections were also number 2 in the top trending searches. So that interest to kind of find out what is going on in this election that the whole world seemed to be very, very interested in. And of course, everybody wanted to know when the family meeting was. So what time is the president on tonight is also a very important question that people kept asking during lockdown. What is coronavirus? Also came up on that list. And we have things like where does vanilla flavoring come from? last year we had this question again: why were conflicts invented? I think we talked about that last year. And people asked where to buy beer during lockdown, how to make your own hand sanitizer. So also things that are related to what was happening.
How random is why were chainsaws invented?
Yes, the chainsaw one. Well, it's a bit random and not random. There was a TikTok thing that happened during the year about chainsaws. So I think people got caught up in that and they were trying to understand what was going on more and maybe just their interest as well.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. But this is what makes it so exciting. And then interestingly, Mich, I see Joe Biden was the most Googled politician in South Africa. Is this similar in other parts of the world, in other countries?
I think Joe Biden showed up in quite a lot of lists. I'm pretty sure I saw him in the Nigeria and the Kenya list as well. Because again, like I said, this election for Americans, which they're still going through, because I think yesterday the Electoral College also re-elected Joe Biden as the president-elect. So it's been a point of interest for the world to find out who is America's president or who will be the president come January 20th.
And I see on that list, top of the South African ranked politicians is Angie Motshekga. So tell us a little bit more. Why was she being Googled?
So I think this particular search, so if I pull up the queries that are related to the search, people were looking for her speech that she done, the announcement, when is she live today? So Angie Motshekga today. So I think it was a speech she gave and people were just interested. And it also related to schools reopening. It's related to address of the nation and schools. It was very much related to schools reopening.
And interestingly, there Kim Jong-un, Kamala Harris, Boris Johnson also on that list. Was there anything in particular that people were looking for with regard to some of those other politicians, or was it just about what was happening at the moment?
Well, I think when you think of Kamala Harris, for every young black girl or every young girl of color, actually, in the world right now, they're looking at Kamala Harris and they're thinking, this is going to be the first woman of color to be the vice president of the United States. And for a lot of them, it is a moment of pride and a moment of dreaming. So being able to look at this person and go, well, if she can, so can I. So I think for that is a lot of kind of moment of pride for young girls around the world. I know I personally looked at her on the day and just thought, wow, what an amazing time to be alive.
Yeah, indeed. And let's quickly delve into some sport. And here also, if we can look at the loss of certain celebrities, because those always also tend to be quite big, Mich.
Absolutely. So, I mean, sports, again, the Premier League, very topical for people. We've got the IPL, we've got Champions League. Every game that South Africa played, apparently, England versus South Africa versus Australia. We got La Liga, CRA on there, Europa League. So a lot of football and cricket on here. But I think what I've always liked about the sports list is it really does show how interested in their sport South Africans are. So that's always exciting to see. And on the personality loss list, this is such a sad list to put together because so many people this year just lost their lives in one way or another. So Kobe Bryant is at the number one of this list. I'm sure that's on that list. And one of the things that actually quite thought was interesting here was South Africans weren't just looking up the kind of global names of people that passed away. They also were looking at local celebrities that had passed away this year. So obviously, so sad, Mary Twala's on this list, Zinzi, Tandeka. So there's all these people. And it's always, for me, when I look at this list, I always kind of ask myself, it's very hard to put together a list like this because it's also a reminder to people of just these incredible people who are no longer with us.
Indeed. Well, Mich, at least some things don't change, like talking about that particular list for Google at the end of the year. Thank you so much, as always, for speaking to us about it. Mich Atagana is from Google, talking to us about Google South Africa's top searches for 2020. And no surprise that coronavirus is the most searched subject for 2020. Let's take a quick break. Are we going to take a break? No, let's go straight to our question of the day and quickly recap. What's your reaction to new restrictions announced by President Cyril Ramaphosa at last night's family meeting? And here are